This is Bradley, the grouchy dog, and you're watching Jimbo from Retro Game Lounge. Brrr.
What's up, everybody, and thank you so much for stopping by, back by very popular demand, the one and only System Psycho.
What's going on, people?
Thanks for stopping by, dude.
Yeah, appreciate the invite.
Yeah, dude, you were awesome last time on Retro Game Hall. I had a lot of fun. A lot of you guys asked, like, will System Psycho be back? And I was like, absolutely, since we're not that far apart. He's only about an hour-ish away. So I asked him to come over this time, not for a haul. We're actually going to do a topical video, and this one's actually going to be a video response to my excellent friend Mikey, one of my favorite Canadians of the Retrollectors, who threw it out there and basically asked a bunch of his friends, myself included, what are your 5 most valuable, and I'll explain that in a second, NES games? And what Mike was referring to about that, not really necessarily monetary kind of valuable, I mean, because anybody can do that, you know, throw out a bonk or, you know, freaking Little Samson or something like that. There's really no thought involved in that. What we was more trying to get across was, what are the games that mean the most to you? Like, you know, do you have a story associated with them? Like, was this a lucky find in a yard sale? Is this one that you remember from your childhood? Like, you know, what has the most emotional attachment? What has the most sentimental value to you? So I asked Miguel if he would pick his 5, and I got my 5, and we're kind of pass the ball back and forth, and just, you know, story time with Miguel and Jimbo. You know, we're gonna share a little bit of our childhood. So stay tuned. What we got first, my good friend?
Alright, so the first game I am going to show is Mega Man 3.
I bet that one's a favorite of a lot of people.
Yeah, so I know Mega Man 2 is like considered everybody's favorite, but this one is my favorite.
Okay.
So
why?
The reason why I picked this is because when I was in 1st grade, I had a friend who, like, so me and my friend, we would like draw a lot. Like when I was a kid, I drew a lot, so I would consider myself kind of like an artist, like illustrator or whatever.
Okay.
And so he was a lot better at drawing, but when we had free time in class, he would get like this computer. Do you remember the computer paper that had like green lines?
Oh, graph paper.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, graph paper.
And so they're all connected together. So he'd get like these big like sheets, and then he would draw the selection screen of Mega Man games, and he would draw like the robots and whatever. And I didn't know what Mega Man was at that time. I was like 6 years old, but he had Mega Man 2, and so he would always draw, and I'd be like, "What is that?" You know, he'd be like, "It's Mega Man." I'm like, "What?"
What's Mega Man?
Yeah, I was like, "What's Mega Man?" And so that was around the time where I think this game kind of came out.
Okay.
And so I didn't know anything about Mega Man 1 and 2, but Mega Man 3, this cover was so memorable to me because I would always see it at the rental store. And when you're 6 years old and you see this kind of art, it looked more realistic than 2 or the first cover. So,
yeah, because that one actually looks like Mega Man.
Yeah,
it's not like a dude holding a gun. Like, he's actually got the Mega Buster.
And so this was one of the first Mega Mans I ever played, and to me, this is just my favorite one. I like. Well, the main reason why I like this game the most out of all of them is the music.
Oh, it's great. Any Mega Man game.
Yeah, I personally think the music for this game is the best out of all the NES.
Think so?
I think so. Like, and my favorite track is Sparkman. So Sparkman is my favorite level and everything.
Alright, that's a good one.
So, yeah, man, I just have good memories with this game, and so this is like so nostalgic for me, like this cover and everything. So I picked this one. This is one of my most valuable games.
That is an excellent selection, dude.
Hell yeah, dude.
That is good. You can't go wrong with a Mega Man game. I mean, for music, I got to go with Metal Man. Like, that's because there's a fantastic cover out there on YouTube of this dude who like shreds it up. Oh god,
there's a lot of Mega Man covers.
Yes, yeah, because it's like Capcom games and Konami games lend themselves so well to metal. Yeah. Like to like guitar shredding metal. It's almost like 8-bit metal.
Especially like Mega Man X games.
Yes.
First Mega Man X.
Yes. It's just they were just way ahead of their time, I guess. You know, like guys are composing, you know, like little 8-bit and 16-bit games like a freaking metal artist would. Like they're that intricate and everything. So no, dude, seriously, good selection. You can't go wrong with Mega Man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
What do I got? Alright. I know a lot of people are gonna think like, really, Jimbo? Like this, like kind of on the nose, but hear me out. Like, give me a minute to freaking explain this. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Contra. So we went with Coke, now we're going with Pepsi here. So we're going with, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What person from our generation does not remember this game? Like, we all had this, we all loved it. This was the first cheat code that all of us had memorized.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the most famous cheat code in history, the Konami code. Okay, so why do I pick this one? Okay, so is this one like a monetarily valuable game? No, not really. Like, even complete in the box, this is a sub $50 game. But like, when it comes to value to me, like, this is one that I can't not have in my collection. Because it's such a fun game. Because it's a game that every time I play it, even though I can beat it, and I probably beat it hundreds of times over the course of my life, it's still fun. Like, it hasn't kind of lost its way or lost any of its shine or appeal or anything like that. Especially if you've got like a partner playing with you, that completely transforms the game. I mean, it really does. This was such a fun game from my childhood. It's still fun when I'm a grown-up. This is the quintessential run and gun. I would argue this is the one that made run and guns like what they are. This is the one that like catapulted into the fucking zeitgeist of today. I mean, this is Konami being Konami. Like, if Mega Man is like Capcom being Capcom, this is Konami doing what they do best. Just making a really fun kind of run and gun shooter. So Contra's definitely going to have to be the first one on my list.
Contra's awesome, man.
I mean, these are in no particular order, really. We're just kind of going through them. This isn't like a number 1 through number 5. This is just 5 ones that we picked.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
My next one is Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game.
I remember getting it for Christmas.
Really?
My mom had to stand in line on the back of the Toys R Us truck to get it. Because everyone wanted.
Oh
yeah, when this came out, this was the game to have for the Christmas holiday.
Dude,
buddy.
so yeah, when I was a kid, this was probably like my favorite game of all time.
Oh, hell yes.
I didn't have it as a kid. My friend had it, dude, and I just love the cover. Like, to me, this was like this is.
It's like coming at you.
So yeah, Ninja Turtle. When I was a kid, Ninja Turtles was life. Like, that was.
Oh, sure.
Like, I like G.I. Joes. I liked all the other stuff, but
the Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, like, people my age, my generation, I think Ninja Turtles probably like that was it.
That was a phenomenon.
Yeah, and so the arcade game was amazing. So when they ported it to the NES, like, they added the 2 levels, the snow level and then the dojo. And I remember, so one day I did rent it, and I was very young. I was like 5 or 6, right? And the NES that I had as a kid was mine and my sister. My sister was older. She's a lot older than me. So when we played games, she was the one that would usually put the game in or whatever, and we'd start it up. So one day my sister was working, I think, and then I wanted to play Ninja Turtles, and I had never turned on an NES by myself. So what I did was I got this cart, and I slipped it in, and I turned it on, and it wouldn't work. I was like, what the heck? And then like I was just messing with it, and I pushed the cart down, and I freaked out because I was like, what the heck did I just do? And I went to my mom. I was like, I think I broke the thing. I was like, I don't know how to get the game out. And she was like, my mom, she doesn't know. She's like, what is this? And then like I realized that's what you got to do to turn on the stupid freaking game. So I have that memory. So I'm just.
That's a good one.
I'm so stupid, dude. I was like, I didn't know you had to like
the toaster.
Yeah, I didn't know you had to put it in. I was like, but I was young. I was like 6, so I was just being dumb. But yeah, dude, even to this day, this is one of my probably top 5 games of all time. Definitely.
Can I interject a micro story?
Sure.
I actually have one about the cover.
Okay.
I remember actually spending this coupon at Pizza Hut.
Oh, really?
I actually had it. It was a little pizza about this big, little like kitty personal pizza.
Really?
It was like one of their pan pizzas, just like this big. You took it in there, and did you see the thing on YouTube where the guy still had one of these and Pizza Hut honored it?
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, that is awesome, man. They actually like, we'll get your pizza.
Yeah.
So that was like the big bonus. You buy a Ninja Turtles game, you get a free kid-sized pizza.
That's so great. I actually have another story.
Hit me. What you got?
Like 5 years ago, I was at my local thrift store, and I was walking around, and I see this old school skateboard.
Oh, it was a Ninja Turtles skateboard?
Dude, yeah. So the top of the skateboard had Michelangelo on the skateboard with his nunchucks, and then when you turn it around for the belly of the skateboard, it had this exact picture.
No way.
Dude, I got it for $11.
You suck.
Yeah, and dude, it was in perfect condition. It wasn't scratched on the board or whatever.
Damn, dude.
The wheels were yellow, so it was like, the one with like a little tail. It wasn't like a 2-tailed skateboard. It was an old school skateboard. But yeah, I still have it. I love that skateboard. But yeah,
it's awesome.
I can't believe I found it because this is like probably my favorite cover to a video game right here.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Konami love.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
You're betraying your Capcom.
Ultra game, dude. I love Konami, man. Don't get me wrong. I love Konami, but Capcom, man,
you can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
It's Coke and Pepsi, bro. Yeah. You're good.
They're like brothers, dude.
It's 2 sides of the same coin, man. They're the 2 big guns on the NES. Good story, dude. That was a good one. You can't go wrong with Ninja Turtles. You just can't.
Ninja Turtles life. What do you got now, man?
Alright, so I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten path. We're going to kind of go into the freaking piratey, gangstery, kind of unlicensed territory with Chiller. Okay, so to be clear, before I go into story time, I am in no way implying that this is in any way a good game, because it is not at all. It's, I think, more known for its infamy than it is for anything else, because the arcade game was considered the most violent arcade game of all time, to the point where they had to pull them out. The arcade game is legitimately rare. I've only ever seen one for sale, and it sold for as much as a pinball game. I mean, it was like thousands of dollars to get one. So, why am I picking this one? Okay. This one, I think, has a collector's story tied to it, because I think this is one of the few, or maybe even the only one, that I've ever acquired in a particular fashion, where I literally pieced this thing together one piece at a time. I got the cart, then the box, then the manual. And by doing all those three things separately, I was way under what the complete in-box value was. I think the last time I looked at it was less than half.
Okay.
The whole thing wrapped up was basically $50.
Nice.
So, just being able to actually do that, and I actually did it pretty quickly. I think within the course of 2 or 3 months, I had everything together without breaking the bank. As far as rarity, this is my rarest NES game. As far as hard to find, no contest. Oh yeah, this. I personally don't know anyone else personally that has Chiller in their collection. I'm sure that they're out there, but of all the collectors that I'm friends with, like System Psycho, I don't know anyone who has this besides me. So, a lot of I've said before in videos where I've talked about collecting, about how things like Earthbound and everything, people are like, those are rare. You know how many motherfuckers I know that have Earthbound?
Yeah.
I know 5 or 6 people. I know no one who has this. Yeah. So it just begs the question, what's rare?
Yeah.
What do you deem as rare? I'm pretty sure they produced more copies of Earthbound than they did of this.
Oh yeah.
This was probably less than 50,000 copies. Probably way less.
Oh fuck yeah.
Probably less than 10,000. Yeah. I don't know the actual numbers, but I mean, you don't often see one of these for sale, especially not altogether.
So I don't collect unlicensed games, so it's good to hear, because I don't know anything I don't know nothing about that stuff. So
I know a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I learned something today.
Sure.
And the cover is dope as shit too.
It is. I mean, dude, dead people are cool. I mean, and it's shit coming out of the grave, and it says right here on the cover, this is kind of what makes this game special. You can see the 2 zappers right there. Yeah. So you can play with 2 zappers at the same time on this, which, as far as I know, this is the only NES game that does that. I've never seen another one where you can play dual zappers, but it doesn't work that well, because we've tried it, and I think it's a synchronization thing with the 2 zappers, one person shooting throws the other one off. I never really got it to work. We got it to work kind of with one person with a zapper and one person with an NES controller. Okay. But even then, dude, the controls are clunky as fuck. this.
So it's a shooter?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not even with the dumbed down NES graphics, the whole gore factor.
Yeah.
No, it's so remedial looking, man. The arcade had a little bit more meat and guts to it, when you're blowing the dudes apart when they're on the rack and shit. That had a little bit of teeth. This one, they had to nerf it down so it would actually run on the NES. It kind of lost all the shock factor, just because the art's so bad. Yeah. So, it's more of a curiosity, I guess, in the collection than anything else, but nice. That cover art, though. I mean, dude, this looks like a fucking metal album.
Yeah, it does.
Chiller! It needs to be a dude rocking out next to the grave. This is the most metal NES cover I think I've ever seen. Dude. I mean, look, even the font, it looks like a metal band. The new album from Chiller, Dead People Are Cool.
The only thing it's missing is a sickle, coming right at you.
A big, sickle-shaped guitar.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
That would be cool.
That's what it's missing, but...
There's probably a band out there named that now. Somebody, because they played this, they're yo, it's named our band Chiller, man. Chiller, dude. And they got the same font, and no one cares. No one's getting sued over that, because... Clash at Demon Head and
yes. Pilgrim versus...
Yes! Yeah. Dude, no one's getting sued over that. You're not worried about it, so... That's the left field entry for mine today.
Good stuff.
Had to keep it unreal.
This is not a bad Bubble. So
you can't go wrong with Bubble.
Dude,
can't go wrong.
This game, man, I think so. This is probably one of the most nostalgic games for me, because as a kid, me and my sister, we would rent this all the time, and it's like a little kiddie game.
It is, but it's still fun.
Yeah, and so I remember. So there's a story.
Oh boy.
Again in first grade, because first grade was my NES days.
Sure.
So my teacher, she had an assignment where we had to kind of explain explain something that we were into.
Okay.
If I remember, dude, this was a long time ago. So I remember I talked, since I loved video games, I talked about Bubble Bobble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I explained that it was about two dinosaurs that spit bubbles and all this stuff. Like I wrote this out, and I remember I turned it into my teacher, and she read it in front of, like, she kind of graded it in front of us or whatever. And she read it, and she was like so amazed, dude. She was like, she thought it was like the most she thought I literally created it. Like, she thought it was the most, she looked at me, she's like, Bobble Bobble? It's amazing. Yeah, she was like, I was like, yo, like, she was really getting into it, dude. I was like, yo, what's up with this lady? And so that day, dude, I just, from that day on, like, Bubble Bobble was like solidified in one of my like top 5 games.
Oh, fantastic.
And another story is, I didn't own this game. Like, I rented it as a kid, but I didn't own it until I was older, like in my 20s. So I finally got a copy, and I hadn't played it since. And I remember putting it in and playing it, and the first song, you know, when they're right before you go into the first level, you hear that one song, like I don't know how the song goes, but dude, the nostalgia kicked me so hard. I was like sitting there with a smile. I literally was about to shed a tear, dude.
Oh.
Dog, I was like, yeah, like, dog,
That's all right,
dog,
buddy.
my heart was like, what is this feeling I'm feeling, dude? Like,
Nostalgia. You
yeah,
got the nostalgia feels.
dude, like, literally, like, it really is a feeling, dude.
Yeah,
like,
it
it
is.
really does hit you, and I'm like, yo, I was like, damn, dude, like, it just takes you back. It's crazy, man, but this game just has a lot of memories.
It's a great game, dude.
And it's fun, and I'm surprised they haven't done anything with this series, dude.
I know.
16-bit had nothing on it.
No.
And unless it's Rainbow. Well,
Rainbow Island, yeah. On Turbo, yeah.
And then other than that, dude, you don't see anything in this, but...
You think somebody would do something with it?
Yeah, man.
Like an Xbox Live Arcade game or something like that?
Exactly, yeah.
That'd be-
And that's what I'm saying, and it's like...
That's perfect.
I feel like it kind of has a cult following, you know, especially among collectors. They like the game.
I don't know anyone who doesn't like Bubble Bobble.
Yeah.
Everyone who's played it is like, yeah, it's an adorable little easy kids game, but so what? It's fun. You know, especially when you got 2 people. You know, it's so easy, but who cares? It's fun. Easy and simple doesn't mean bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I'm like crying as I play it, dude. I'm just like... I might be the boss crying. It's so beautiful.
It's hitting me in the feels, man.
Yeah, man, so that's definitely one of the most valuable games. My house was burning, I'd probably have to grab Bubble Bobble.
Aww. That's so adorable. I mean, dude, I'd be running out with this. So it's like...
Okay. Alright.
It's like I worked hard to get that, damn it. You know?
People are like, Chiller, what the fuck?
What the fuck you grab that piece of shit for? What else? So, next, okay. Why am I picking this one? Well, couple reasons. Number one, top-down shooters, arcade shooters, one of my favorite genres. I absolutely love them. Raiden, like one of my favorite games of all time, and I
Good shit.
couldn't do this list without including at least one.
Okay.
And while this isn't the best game in its series, the later ones were definitely head and shoulders above this. This is the one that got the ball rolling, as far as the Star Soldier series is concerned. You know, so later to be followed by Superstar Soldier, Final Soldier, Soldier Blade. You know, all fantastic games on the TurboGrafx/PC engine. Some of the best shooters ever made. But this is the OG, man. Like, this is the one that started it all. By modern means, is it in any way a good shooter? No, but as far as the top-down shooters on the NES, this is one of the better ones. You know, you do get remedial power-ups. It doesn't get all crazy like it does in Superstar Soldier or Soldier Blade or anything, where the guns just get freaking nuts.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of saved that for the 16-bit era. But this is basically the quintessential top-down arcade shooter. You know, at its core, that's what it is.
Nice.
You know, the blazing lasers, the Star Soldiers, you know, that kind of stuff where I love it. System Psycho loves it. Like, they're just fun games because anybody can play them. Like, it's the simplest thing, you know, basically started with Galaga, stuff's coming at you, you shoot it. It doesn't get any simpler than that, you know, like all the guns and shit, that's just window dressing. But it is still a fun game, you know. Top-down shooters were actually kind of on the low side on the NES. Those really kicked up into high gear when they got into the 16-bit era.
Definitely.
So there's only a few of these that actually exist on the console. This is definitely one of the better ones.
Nice.
You know, this is not as polished as, you know, something like a Gradius or a Light Force or whatever, but, you know, this came out before those. So, you know, hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
I've never played the game, and so by you sizing it, dude, I probably gotta go get myself a copy.
It's a good game.
And the cover is funny. It looks like an Atari cover.
Doesn't it?
You know,
look at it. It does.
Yeah,
it's like
you know what it looks like, dude? Like that art. Like back in the day, I'm sure we're kind of around the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have textbooks that just have these old art in
yes.
it? And it's like from the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
That's what it looks like, dude.
This is Atari art. I didn't realize that until you said, but yeah, that looks like
it's Atari art.
That looks like Atari art. That's an excellent call, dude. I never would have seen that. And like, who is this dude with the gun?
Yeah.
There's no one with a gun in this game. There's a ship with a gun, but maybe your pilot has a gun, but he never uses it. You know why? Because he's in fucking space.
Yeah, dude.
A gun ain't gonna work. God, why are we gonna talk about that? What's next, bro?
So,
what we got?
The next game is actually my favorite NES game of all time. Bah!
Damn!
Double Dragon 2,
bold statement,
dude.
sir. Bold statement.
Double Dragon 2.
Good game.
So
Good
the
game.
reason why I picked this is because my favorite genre, like yours is shooters, right? My favorite genre is beat 'em ups.
That's my second favorite.
Yeah, and shooters is probably my second favorite.
So we're like,
yeah,
we're flipping the coin again,
Yeah.
bro. Capcom and Konami.
And then, so with this game, this was, now that I realize, dude, this is actually the first beat 'em up I've ever played.
Yeah?
Yeah, and dude, this game is so fun, dude.
It
It's
is.
really short. So one of my good friends, like whenever he comes by, we always hook this up. We beat it. We love, like, I love the sound effects, like when you knee somebody in the face,
Yes.
like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and they just like
The hyper
fly
knee and shit,
and
they go flying.
everything, and dude, so
Pulling off the hyper knee was the
yeah.
shit.
So this definitely contributes to like my love of beat 'em ups. But the one story I have with this was, again, I was like 5 years old. I was like super young, man.
Did you go from like first grade to adult?
Yeah, dude.
Like nothing happened in between? It's just like...
A lot of the memories is because when I was a kid, because that's when the NES was popping. So
Okay.
my cousin, they're the same age as my sister. So they're 8 years older than me. So when I was 5, one of my cousins was 13. So I was at his house, right? Mm-hmm. They rented Double Dragon 2. And so he's playing it solo, and you know, since I'm 5, I don't know what's going on, man. You know, I just like the video games or whatever. So
Sure.
he's playing it. He's not sharing the controller.
Of course not.
And so at the time, he's trying to do the hurricane kick, and he can't do it. He's like, oh gosh, I can't do the hurricane kick. And me being a 5-year-old, dude, I lied to him. I was like, I can do it. I know how to do it. And he gave me the controller. As soon as he gave me the controller, I was just playing, dude. I didn't know how to do the hurricane kick. And he was like, what are you doing, dude? He like took the controller back. But just the fact that a 13-year-old would give a 5-year-old a controller, thinking that he would be better than him, it's like, dude,
that's funny.
It's so stupid, dude. But yeah, that's like, I had that one memory of this. That's probably the first time I played Double Dragon 2.
Okay.
And it's just so, dude. Again, the memories, like NES is just.
I remember renting it.
Yeah.
That was a good one. It was head and shoulders above its predecessor.
Yeah, so
no contest.
This is way better than the first one for the NES.
Yeah, I mean, co-op alone makes it better.
Yeah, and then Double Dragon 3, I love Double Dragon 3, but the one man thing is just, it's really hard.
That's stupid.
And then Double Dragon 4 that released was in the same pretty much form as Double Dragon 2, which was great.
I liked it.
Yeah, plus they added like more moves too.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I would think they did it that way because Double Dragon 2 is probably the more popular one. So
it was literally like if Double Dragon 3 never happened, the Double Dragon 4 they released, you would, if you put it in front of someone like 20 years ago and you said this is Double Dragon 3, they would have zero problem believing it. Because it plays exactly like a sequel to the game.
Exactly. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Double Dragon 2, man, that's my fourth pick.
That's a very good choice. I almost picked that one. I almost did.
Really?
When I was looking back there at the NES games, I was thinking about a beat 'em up, but then I knew that Miguel was going to be here, and I was just like, he's going to pick a beat 'em up. Like, I knew he was going to do this. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to freaking cramp his style. I'm going to let him pick one. So I figured, I'm like, he's probably going to pick a Double Dragon game because we're going NES. So I'm like, all right, I won't like piss on his wheelhouse or whatever. I'll let him have it. So I'm like, I had to pick the shooter. I was like, for my next game, guys, I would be remiss if I didn't include a game from this franchise because this had such a massive impact on me as a child. I remember exactly where I was when I first heard about and played this game. And it was like the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. It's my next door neighbor. I just moved into a new neighborhood. I was about 6 or 7 years old in the house that my parents are still in, 30 plus years later. And my next door neighbor was, was like my first neighborhood friend when I moved in there. He was, I think, a year younger than me, so we're just about the same age. And he had a Nintendo. I didn't know anyone who had a Nintendo. I didn't have one yet. We had an Atari, and I thought I was hot shit. He's like, oh, I have a Nintendo. I was like, oh, cool. So yeah, he was instantly like my best friend. And then he was telling me about a game called Castlevania, which I had never heard of. And I was like, Castlevania? I was like, you mean like Transylvania? He's like, no, it's Castlevania. I was like, okay, well, what's Castlevania? And he just goes on to tell me about like, oh, it's like this really cool game. You got like a whip and you fight like Dracula and like Frankenstein, like the mummy and like werewolf stuff. I was like, what? Like, I was like, there are video games like that? Like, it just blew my fucking mind when I heard that. I was like, that sounds like the greatest thing I've ever heard of. And he invited me over to his house. He's like, well, let's go over and play it, man. And he showed it to me, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it's like a horror movie, but it's a video game. Like, my little 7-year-old brain was like exploding when I saw this. Like, the dude with the whip and the soundtrack and everything. I mean, I know I'm not alone in my love for this franchise. This is one of the most enduring, one of the most popular franchises in video game history. And I don't think it is a bold statement to any degree to say that this game literally changed video games. Like, this raised the bar for what a video game could be. Yeah. As far as story and everything, just weapons, boss, like the big kind of boss fights. This was like one of the original like big boss fight games. Like, this is one of the games that made that like a thing. Yeah. We didn't like the whole boss battle thing. That wasn't a thing before this came along. Like, games like this, are what that's why it's in like the nomenclature today. Like, an epic kind of boss battle. Yeah. And I'm so glad that they're still making these to this day. I hope that never stops. I love the series. I love absolutely everything about this. So, Castlevania, I had to pick the first one.
Castlevania.
It's a fucking masterpiece. So, I mean, like, I don't know what else to call it.
I have a friend who, one day, my friends were playing Castlevania, and as they were playing, the game just kind of messed up. Basically, you could still you could still move the character. But what happened was the whole level, like the screen, just got all messed up and beat up.
One of the pins came out of alignment.
Yeah, so it looked all weird. So you really couldn't tell what was what, dude. I have a friend who memorized the game so well that he was still able to beat the game all like that.
That is the baddest motherfucker.
Yeah,
that kid is a legend.
Yeah, so he was able to just beat that giant. Like, he knew where the stairs were. He knew everything. He beat it, dog. And we were just like, what the hell? Are you serious? Like, I don't think there's any game I could do that with, honestly.
No. So, if you had a gun to my head, I couldn't do that. Yeah, like, it's hard enough to do it when I can see everything. It's still challenging. Dude, that kid is better at that game than I will ever be at anything. Dude, yeah. I'm never going to be that good at it.
He's not really a gamer anymore. I mean, he's...
But why the hell not?
But, dog, when we were younger, dude, like, we were all about games.
There was always that one kid.
And so he, if we talk about games, he's like, oh, yeah, dude. He loves talking about old school stuff, and he loves old school movies and all that. But he's not really a gamer as much as us. But, he can beat Castlevania like the back of his hand.
I wish I had a game that I was truly great at like that. Like, where I literally... It sounds like you could basically blindfold him and he could still do it. Yeah. I don't my brain doesn't work that way. Sorry. What's next? What do you got?
Alright, so my last game... This one probably has the most significant story. So... Okay. It is another Ninja Turtles game. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project.
Good game. Worthy sequel.
Dude, this is probably the best. Like, I love the arcade game, don't get me wrong, but
this is the better game.
Yeah, this is definitely the better game. So the reason why I chose this, I bought this when it was out in stores and retail stores. So this isn't the original box, but this is the original cart. Okay. So the way I was able to buy it, so again, 6 years old, first grade.
Everything the cultural nexus.
Yeah, dude, that was that was the grade and that was the year for the NES for me.
Apparently.
So, so my family and I, we, if you know the area, there's a mall, Montgomery Mall, where I live here in Maryland, and we were at the mall, and so we walk into, it's no longer there, but there used to be a KB Toys.
Oh yeah.
I went in there and they had all the games in the back behind the counter. And
you had to go up and ask for them.
Yeah, so I remember, dude, I didn't really watch too much TV. I didn't read magazines, so I don't know I didn't know this game existed. So I remember seeing this game, behind the counter. And dude, I wanted it so, because like I said, Ninja Turtles was life. Like that was it. Dude.
You had to have it.
It was the first and only time I ever cried for something. Like I was such
to like mom and dad.
Yeah, I was such a bitch about it, dude. I really was. I cried my No, listen. And the thing is, my parents, dude. Like, I'll be straight up. We didn't have money growing up, dude.
Yeah.
And, my parents.
Me neither.
You know what I mean? So like my parents, I didn't understand that as a kid. I didn't give a shit. So my mom, because we were saving up for a trip to go visit family in Guatemala, because that's where my parents are from. Mm-hmm. My parents were trying to tell me, like, Miguel, we gotta save up for this trip. We don't got much to do. I just kept crying and crying.
Please.
Dog, they bought it, dude. They bought the game.
That's a cool mom and dad, dude.
My parents I love my parents to death. They're some of the greatest people in the world,
That's
dude.
Good.
So they bought it, and I just remember being the happiest. And my sister, she was like, she was like in high school or maybe middle school at the time, and she was like looking at me like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe they bought it for you. She being all bitter. Bitch. Yeah, she didn't being all bitter about it. And I remember like, so we still walked around the mall after. I remember just looking at this box as we were walking around the mall and just like looking at it, looking at the little screenshots,
studying everything about it.
I remember coming home and playing it, and so that
is a hell of a story.
This is one of my most memorable games. So.
Wow, I don't think I ever cried for a video game.
Yeah, like I said, that was the first and only time, dude. I had to have it. Ninja Turtles is life.
Oh my god! Wow. How do I freaking follow that?
What you got?
All right, so we'll close this out with I couldn't do this list without including one game in this franchise. I think you guys are probably figuring out which franchise I'm talking about. Anyone who's watching my shit knows that I'm probably the biggest nerd on the planet when it comes to this franchise. I absolutely love the Bomberman series, and the first question I guess you're gonna ask is like, why Bomberman 2 over Bomberman 1? I'm just gonna have to say it. Bomberman 1 isn't that good of a game. It's really not. Like, it was very early in the NES's life cycle. It was based on like a Commodore 64 like computer game, and it just isn't that good of a game. Like, graphically, it's very unimpressive. The play control isn't all that great. But by the time they got to number 2, this is a gigantic leap forward on every single level. Like, this, in my opinion, is like the first real Bomberman game. Like, as far as what we think of when we think of Bomberman these days, like the art style, the play style, and everything. This, as far as I'm concerned, was like the beginning of the Bomberman zeitgeist. Like, this is where it started. Because when you look at it, this was released much later in the NES's life cycle. And the sprites are a lot bigger, the music's better, the play control's better, it's a better game, there are better enemies, and the best part, 3 players.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know.
One of the very few 3-player games. Because it was either 2 players or 4 players. This one's 3 players.
Why
so,
3? Why not 4?
Good question. I never actually figured that out for myself. Maybe memory.
Okay.
Like, they just couldn't handle 4 at the same time.
Did this game come out before Bomberman and Bomberman 93 for TurboGrafx, or did this come out after?
Yes. I think. Yes. Like, maybe not on the Japanese side, but on the North American side, yes.
Okay.
It did. So it was later in the NES's life cycle. I don't know the exact year. If I'm going to spitball just a guess, I'll add it to the screen. My guess off the top of my head is going to be 1990, 1991. Something like that. Probably 1990. So it's like, the Super NES is getting ready to come out in like another year or two. The NES has been out for like 5 or 6 years at this point. It's hit its stride. Programmers like Hudson Soft really know how to program, get the horsepower out of the system. So by the time Hudson Soft got around to this, they really knew what they were doing. Like, they had a dozen or more games under their belt, and they were like, yeah, we're taking Bomberman to the next level. This is one that I've actually played and completed live here on Retro Game Lounge. It's the one and only Bomberman game that I've done with them. It's legitimately hard. Like, for OG Bomberman games, this one's difficult. But, this was the first one with battle mode. Basically on any console. Like 3 players, like, it's kind of nice when you have 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 players, but 3 players, you can have a battle, The music's great, again, a lot better in the first game. The sprites, instead of being like this, are like this. So, graphically, just a massive jump forward, and it's a fun little game.
Nice.
It really is, it is. So,
good stuff.
I could not include a Bomberman game.
Dude, 1991, man, that's such a good year, you know why?
A lot of good things happened in 1991.
Yeah, I was 6 years old in first grade.
Yeah, apparently everything happened.
Everything happened in 1991, dude. I'm telling you, that's such a good year, dude.
I guess it is. Jesus.
Bomberman 2 came
out. Planets were aligned, like Ninja Turtles, like everything was just right in the world. Everything was perfect.
If you don't remember 91, man, you missed out.
I mean, dude, Terminator 2, that came out in 91. I mean, it's like 91 was a pretty good fucking year.
That's when you can start seeing things are changing.
Oh,
things were changing, man. From the 80s to the 90s.
from the 80s, yeah, the freaking foot was on the gas,
Yeah,
dude. We were heading into the future.
92 and then 93, you're a full-fledged 90s right there by 93.
93, you're heading into the internet. Like,
that's when it's like, okay.
That's when shit's
We're
really
90,
taking off. What a weird, like, confluence of events that we grew up in. You know, the transition from basically, like, the 80s to the 90s where, you know, the internet revolution, everything just started changing so fast.
And the thing about the 90s was funny is, like, video games changed a lot because...
Oh, absolutely.
The NES, like, for me, was early 90s, like, late 80s, early 90s. And then if you think about the end of the 90s was the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
So you go from 8-bit to 128-bit.
In less than a decade.
Yeah, dude, 10 years is nothing.
No.
It goes... And the thing is, as a kid, time goes by a lot slower. So to me, those 10 years were, like, long. But, dude, now it's like...
Yeah, it got there fast. Well, special thanks to my excellent friend System Syko for hanging out with me,
dude.
bringing 5 games.
Always,
Just
dude.
shooting the shit.
Appreciate it.
Dude, your stories were fucking awesome. Like, especially the crying story. I mean, that's like...
Yeah, such a bitch about that. Such a little bitch.
Like, thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
You know?
such a bitch, dude.
It's I know I begged and pleaded for more than one game, but I don't remember a time where I actually broke out the tears to get my way. I don't remember doing that.
Yeah.
I think I cried for a pet once.
Oh, okay.
Like maybe like a hamster or something, but I don't think I went as far as video games. Like video games were more like begging and pleading, and my parents were more like deal makers. Like be like, okay, I'll get this for you, but here's what you gotta do for me. Like I need like a B or an A on this test or whatever like that. Like they set the goal and I'm like, all right. And it made me work harder in school. Like I will get good grades to play video games. That was my incentive. And I mean, whatever. Get the grade. It doesn't matter.
I just cried.
He just cried. Like he took the easy way out.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your way. So that's.
Well, I learned my lesson though, dude. If that was my kid, I would just smack the shit out of him. Like, you're not getting nothing.
You ain't getting shit, you little
We gotta
bitch.
go to Guatemala in a month.
So you gotta pay for it. So what am I gonna pay for the plane ticket with an NES game, you little bastard? That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, just take him pull him by the ear. Old school.
You're not getting crap. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You're not
You
my son.
can't do that to that child.
Watch me. Not my son.
Yeah, get out of here.
Well, thank you again, Miguel, so much for stopping by, man. This has been awesome. Thanks, Mike, the Retrollectors, for tagging us, man. Super cool, great topical video. And I guess we will see you guys soon.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys.
Adios.
Peace.